Hello and welcome to Peacock Plays Android Netrunner.
I'm Henry Branscombe.
And I'm Ben Kahn. This is round 2 of the Store Championship at Forever Night Games in Olympia, Washington. And this was New Year's Day 2015, PAX Legal up through the source.
On the left we've got our friend Taylor, and on the right is Ben himself.
Yeah, so as you can see after the random selection, I'll be playing Andromeda, specifically a stealth Andromeda build, and Taylor will be playing a Cambridge-style Personal Evolution Jinteki deck. So, you played this deck for a while. Can you tell folks how it works?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Put out a lot of remotes, don't let the runner know what's going on. Try and score out through bluffing. If you've got any ice, make sure it's something that is frustrating to continue running through. The main idea is to kill them, although ultimately you can kind of attempt to score out as well, usually. Lots of usually Mushin no Shin, putting up Cerebral Overriders, or June Bugs, or all kinds of stuff. Ronins, and even sometimes Agendas, because, well, that way they're just never safe to run.
Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about the tools that I have in my deck for this matchup, because Personal Evolution is one of the prominent decks in our metagame, and I wanted to come prepared. So the key piece, of course, is Feedback Filter. It's a one-of. It's a piece of hardware that allows me to pay 3 credits instead of taking instead of taking a net damage. I can trash it to prevent 2 brain damage, although I don't usually use that mode. And you see me here almost forgetting my ability as Andromeda.
Yep. No, you get more than that. you get more than that.
Yes, I do.
And you'd probably be a lot more fair if you had to make your decision and then draw 4 at the start of your turn, but that is not how she works.
No, Andy is better than that. So, yeah. So the other tech I have against this, I have Security Testing, which punishes those remotes without ice. I also have John Masanori, which starts to make up the sort of slow bleed of cards that tends to happen through playing against Jinteki. And you see me, I'm shipping this back because I don't have any of my tools to punish PE, nor do I have the draw power to look for it.
And it's worth noting, like Cambridge decks like this, they're not usually just trying to kill you, they're also kind of a taxing deck. It's just not a kind of tax a lot of decks are set up to deal with. It's not your credits that matter, it's your cards.
And moreover, your clicks to draw up. That's why a card like John Masanori is so useful in this matchup. I mean, it does create awkwardness where I successfully run, and then I draw a card, and then I have to access and risk the card that I drew. So that's a little bit sketchy with if trying to find my feedback filter, but it's so much click compression in terms of making up the gradual damage that I receive that I think it's worth the risk.
Especially when you're building your economy, because even if the amount of money you have doesn't matter much to him, it certainly does to you.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that once I have feedback filter, if I'm rich, I'm basically untouchable.
Got the mulligans there, I believe, on both sides.
Yeah.
So, kind of a situation which tends to favor Criminal, especially Andy.
Yeah, Criminal is fantastic at just punishing mulligans, and Andy mulligans really well.
Yep.
Alright, and we're underway.
Yep.
We've got a...
First turn, first click, remote server. Makes sense. Want to start getting stuff on the table, encouraging the runner to check it, and punishing them for not checking it, especially if it's an agenda.
Yeah. And another. The shell game begins. Now, I will note that the other kind of piece of tech I have here is not in my deck, but is the fact that I play with Taylor pretty regularly. And at this point, I feel like I can read him pretty well, and just sort of instinctively know whether or not it's a good idea to run on things. A sort of mind without mind, if you will.
You also have, of course, Account Siphon, which is pretty devastating. If he runs out of money, then he's in a lot of trouble. And here he's got Medical Research Fundraiser to round out his turn, getting him a nice sum of credits, but also giving you a boost yourself.
Yeah, but it does mean that I can't siphon to turn off Snare and things like that.
Which is, I mean, definitely why he did it, I imagine. It doesn't look like he has ice in his opening hand. Doesn't have very much ice in his deck, but at the same time, well, you're at 12 credits on turn 1, click 1, so...
Yeah, but again, and I mean, part of his goal is to make those credits somewhat irrelevant, and if I have a feedback filter, then that gives me a nice little credit sink. But until then, in the meantime, I'm just going to proceed to continue punishing his remotes. I can now play out this dirty laundry safely because I have a bank job to get instead of accessing. So this is just a huge pile of credits.
Yep.
So, see Desperado, bank job, and dirty laundry triggers.
Yeah, you are not doing too poorly on the money front. Against most other matchups, this would be a really great position. It's not bad by any means, but it's not quite as commanding.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just the issue of, like, I didn't hit feedback filter in my opener. And that's really kind of the way that I turn this money into something useful in this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, right now, it doesn't even matter if you have programs in play for the most part. Well, now it does slightly more, but...
Yeah. So we see another trap come down. I mean, I wonder what that could be. I play John Masanori and hit the deck. Take my trigger first. And now we see that... No, it's a Gillahands.
Gillahands, even better.
But now we see that interaction I was talking about with Masanori, where I do risk the card that I just drew, so it makes it a little harder to do the risk assessment. And you see now I lose the Plascrete.
Which is actually unfortunate, because a lot of Cambridge PE decks do run a snare or two, sorry, not a snare or two. Well, 3 snares, but also a Scorched Earth or 2, which sometimes, you don't want to die to.
Yeah, so now you see Mr. Lee coming down into... I want to just kind of keep punishing him for doing his plan without actually taking many risks while I draw towards my feedback filter.
Yeah, one of the things I feel like Cambridge PE definitely excels at is, much like Criminal, it punishes you for making a mistake. It's hard to lead you into making that mistake sometimes, but if you screw up, he's got a lot of ability to make you hurt for it.
Yeah, so you see me just digging here. Did I just accidentally put the next card I drew on top of my deck instead of in my hand? Or am I imagining things?
I believe you did.
Whee! That doesn't even make any sense.
That's not the kind of filtering that Mr. Lee does.
No.
Because I know you put the other one on the bottom. So let's see if you correct that.
No, I think I just screwed up here. So, sorry everybody.
Well, hurt yourself at least, as opposed to helping yourself. So.
Yeah, that's true. I think that doesn't favor me.
No.
Ooh, look at that hand. 2 snares in hand.
Yeah. It's not a safe place to be running right now. Not that you probably would when he has that much money anyways.
Yeah, no, I mean, ultimately what I really want... I mean, at this point I don't want to face check either of those ice, because a Koma Inu would make me pretty unhappy.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of my stealth pieces. Now, once I have my Switchblade out and 2 silencers, it's just free for me to run through a Koma Inu. But that is 3 cards worth of setup that I don't have right now.
Yeah, and if you don't have any of them even, well, you're just in trouble, really.
That said, I think Passport is a very good piece of ice against him, because it's just so unlikely for remotes to actually get iced in a way that I care about, and can't inside job.
Yeah. I mean, seeing that hit the table, if he does have any code gate ETR, he'd use it.
And here we go, we've finally got the feedback filter going. So now I can turn my econ into an actual advantage that's relevant to this matchup.
And that does mean that now with security testing and John Masanori...
security testing isn't on the table, that's Mr. Lay.
Right, sorry.
No worries.
Desperado still helps out a little bit. If you do get security testing out, though, that's...
And there's the security testing.
There we go. I was ahead of myself. Now it's 1 click for you to effectively negate 2 potential net damage each turn.
Yeah, I get the card, and I get enough money to negate another net damage. The other thing about this is that just basically turns off the double Ronin threat, as long as I can keep enough money to keep myself alive.
Yeah.
Which isn't even that much, because it's okay for him to wipe my hand as long as I can avoid actually taking lethal.
Yeah.
So this just reduces the pressure for me to run, even on the server that he just
installed and advanced in?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time he's advanced anything, so it's a little bit worrying, but...
Yeah, and at this point I do kind of wonder if he's trying to bait me with a Cerebral Overrider, because if I have to prevent that net damage, prevent that brain damage, then I lose my feedback filter, and there goes my advantage for the rest of the game. Alright, so meanwhile I've got most of my combo assembled now, but I still need another stealth credit in order to be able to go through Koma Inu, and there's the second silencer.
So you're all set up to run right through those Koma Inus now.
Yeah, I mean, double Koma Inu on an R&D would be kind of painful, but other than that, I'm
But at the moment he couldn't
fine.
even res it, so... Would cost him 10 credits to do.
Yeah.
And leaving him broke, even if it hurts you, is probably pretty desirable.
Yeah.
Though, definitely. Not if it kills you in the process.
Yeah.
Or sets you up for a kill.
Yeah. And I mean, I have feedback filter as a safety blanket there, but it's not ideal. But yeah, I've just let him leave that, and now we see him ice it up.
That's probably an agenda he wants to score, but it's not impossible for him to be baiting you further.
Well, if it's an agenda, why doesn't it just score it, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it leaves his centrals a little bit vulnerable, but they're already vulnerable.
I could see it being a reversed accounts, though. I don't feel like it's likely to be a trap in the traditional sense at that point. Ronin is also not unlikely.
Yeah, although I feel like Ronin is just a lot less relevant right now.
Yeah.
Right,
But,
so
I mean...
we see security testing.
In fairness, this was New Year's Day. I know you and Taylor both were out quite late that night, and I don't know if he recovered from his hangover quite as well as you did. I had the pleasure myself of staying in and being woken up every couple of minutes by fireworks. So, none of us got a lot of sleep.
Alright, so now we see more sustainable stealth on my part with Cloak coming down.
Yeah, not able to run through 2 Koma Inus yet, but getting there.
Yeah, only need one more piece, a Ghost Runner, or possibly a second Cloak. Usually that MU is reserved for a medium, and I might end up using a medium in this matchup if I feel really safe with my feedback filter, but medium's not a priority for me.
No.
So I would be perfectly comfortable putting down a second...
And against a Cambridge PE deck, you're also not likely to run into all that many barriers that cause you problems. With the source out, maybe Marcus would be a concern, but that just means you want to conserve a click or two to get through him.
Yeah, and you already don't want to run last click against Jinteki.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I don't think you really need your Fractor, most likely. Especially not while he's still down on 7 credits. If he gets up to 8, I guess he could pop open a Wall of Thorns, but that's a pretty hefty investment in ice for that style of deck. So I don't see him running it.
Yeah, and if he ever actually goes broke, that makes him quite vulnerable because it turns off most, although not all, of his traps.
Yeah. Well, and you know the thing he installed in Advanced, if it's a trap, isn't the sort of trap that goes off for free. It's not a... Oh, I'm forgetting the name now. But it requires money unless it's a Ghost Runner. Not Ghost Runner.
Ghost Branch?
Ghost Branch, that's
Ghost
the one.
Runner, on the other hand, is coming down on my side of the board.
Which is nice.
Yeah, so I can now deal with a double Koma Inu at least 3 times. Like, there's basically nothing that can keep me out except for, of course, a barrier.
I reiterate, I don't think he needed to wait that long to check on R&D. He wasn't able to res 2 Koma Inus. But being more set up is never a bad thing.
Well, as it turns out, I do need my Fractor.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Alright, and you see me clearing the tag from John Masanori instantly so that I don't get scorched to death.
Always clever to keep on top of that. I definitely lost a game against him recently. I forget how many Scorches he's running, if it's 2 or 3. I think it's 2.
Oh, you're thinking of his other deck.
Oh, yes, I am. We were very disappointed in Taylor for not bringing his Nisei Division deck to the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this deck is probably more consistent, but there's power at that Nisei deck, for sure.
Yeah, and I know this didn't work out too well for him. And you see Taylor there installing a second row of assets because he's hit the edge of his playmat.
Yep.
Personally, I like to push my other assets a bit forward so it's a little bit clearer that they're not attempts at root level installation. Although you don't do that in remote servers anyways.
That's not how upgrades work in a remote, so no. I think this is perfectly fine. See,
having Jackson on the table is a bit nice because it means he can draw into whatever he needs and discard without worrying too hard. But
what does he want to draw here, though?
Econ would be my guess, or a particular kind of trap.
Yeah.
Or heck, honestly, some agendas that he can get down and leave down and score out. If he thinks you're nervous to run his unadvanced things.
Yeah. So first click, I'm running on Jackson and forcing him to use it.
Makes sense. You don't want to let anyone have a Jackson too long, especially in, well, an open Jackson.
Yeah, and it leaves my it leaves me the option to security test later, but I don't have to rush that early in my turn, especially if I don't want to draw. Especially if I don't want to overdraw.
Does that give you a tag from John Masanori though?
No, the run is neither successful nor unsuccessful.
Alright.
Schrodinger's run ceases to exist. Alright, so now we see he shuffles 3 more cards in a hedge. I think his discard's empty, so the ones we know about are hedge fund and medical research fundraiser.
Yeah. So I think getting rid of it just to be on the safe side, but definitely probably wanting to get in some econ back into his deck. It does seem like he's struggling with that. And I believe he commented to me at some point on the day that he was having some trouble with his the consistency of his deck that day.
Yeah. Alright, so now we see me hitting security testing. And still leaves me with the click to play out whatever I drew.
And it was...
Apparently I'm thinking for a second.
And drawing up instead.
Yeah, overdrawing.
Good old Mr. Lee.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately I want my corroder here.
Yeah, get in, start seeing what's in R&D.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as it is risky to do R&D, yeah, if you have the security testing spare in hand, why bother?
Yeah.
But as much as R&D deep digging is a risk, I feel like it's probably safer than the remotes, honestly.
Yeah, and it's one of the... Well, I mean, as you've seen by the fact that I haven't run, I'm pretty convinced that the early stuff is not worth running.
Yeah.
Alright, so now you see me run the new one, and it's a House of Knives.
That's a nice score to make on your part.
Yeah.
Stops him from...
That agenda is just so important to him.
Yeah. And this also puts him in a pretty awkward position here.
Alright, and I lose an inside job, which wasn't doing much for me.
Well, you could always inside job R&D. We're into the second thing. But, yeah, it's not doing a lot, and this also means you're in a good position here. Most of his agendas are one-pointers, so you're 2 out of 7 scores done, and he is not an even started, really, in terms of scoring out.
Yeah, and you see me digging with Mr. Lee, just again trying to get that corroder.
Find a silencer. Now you had 2 Koma Inus for free each turn.
Yeah, and another Ghost Runner.
You're really doing nicely on credits. Those Ghost Runner credits.
Oof.
Oop. Someone knocked the camera. And... not quite fixed. Oh, yeah. Now, getting up to actually fix the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, Taylor taking his corp draw while I am...
keeping his hand down. Make sure you don't see anything on the monitor while you're fixing it.
Yeah.
You can see my jacket over there in the corner now.
Proof of your existence.
Still not ideal positioning, but mid-game fixes are a bit tricky.
Yeah. So he's drawn on first.
And I was going to say, with the Ghost Runner, is each of those...
installing.
In addition to being a pretty useful tool for your stealth stuff, is also effectively a net damage that you just don't take.
Yeah. No, it's just another emergency reserve of credits as well. And I mean, I try to deprioritize it, but... Alright, so yeah, we see 2 installs there. Now, I've got to figure that some...
Okay, I'm gonna install this. That's a new server.
Ice.
Yeah.
That's a new server. Yeah.
Now, I've got to figure that some of these newer cards are probably agendas, because I'm quite convinced that the stuff he installed early in the game were not.
No. I mean, except for maybe a Philotic Entanglement, I imagine he'd be scoring most of this stuff if it was agendas.
Yeah, but if he has a Philotic sitting, then as long as I keep my credits up, I don't care.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping my credits up, I am now in 2 spin down range.
There you go, nice little marker for your 20.
Yep.
Was that a double gamble there? Or? I think you might have
security testing?
Yeah, security testing
Yeah.
into the sure gamble. That's what I
Yeah.
missed. I don't think you actually took the credits until afterwards.
Yeah, because I saw the sure gamble on my draw and knew what my next click was.
Very confusing for someone who wasn't there.
I am just a horrible, sloppy player.
Yeah. Oh no.
Alright, so we see another remote coming down to the side of that ice,
Nothing
which I'm going to go check out.
in that iced remote, I don't think.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit strange, I feel like. Why play out ice if he doesn't have something put behind it? Because maybe if he's just too broke to res it.
Alright, so we see me losing my refractor.
Which is unfortunate, but not essential.
Or to steal that House of Knives.
Yeah.
I think it's a good trade. Like I said, Passport is probably fine for me here. I can inside job if I really need to.
And not letting him have a House of Knives is always worthwhile.
Yeah. Alright, now we see Dirty Laundry on Archives to get just a bunch of security testing money.
Yeah. Rich is you.
Yeah. Yeah, if that... So let's see, that's 32 credits. So that means I can tank 10 net damage.
Yeah, at that point I feel like any kind of actual net damage related threat is basically just not in the cards.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I'm still willing to give up cards before I give up the money, because his feedback filter is more of a tool for emergencies. But if I do have something in essential in hand and get hit by a surprise net damage, I can also use this to protect it, like my corroder.
Yeah. He's installing some ice.
He might be trying to bait an HQ run, and I'm not sure if those snares are still in there.
Well,
right, and we see him further.
I don't think.
We see him further advancing via
his old ice, and it looks like he's advanced something in that new server as well.
Oh, that's a Mushin target.
Mushin, okay.
Yeah, so I can run it down, and if I want to, and deal with basically anything other than an overrider. And the cool thing is, if I hit an overrider, it sucks. But even if I take some brain damage, I still can negate enough net damage that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the only real danger would be if he's got a Scorched and you're tagged.
Yeah.
But you can handle that by just clearing your tags.
Yeah, so as long as I... Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Mushin target here. And we see a Ronin.
Trying to set up for the Ronin kill, even if he's got feedback filter. And I'm definitely seeing the feedback filter, thinking of Mintron's comments about how very, very, very valuable Shattered Remains is in this style of PE deck.
Yeah, no, Shattered Remains would have caused me a lot of problems there.
Yeah. You'd lose, what, 2 silencers and your feedback filter, or probably actually one of your Desperado, your feedback filter, and just one of the silencers. Whatever combination, losing that feedback filter and having no way of getting it back would probably put a lot of hurt on you.
This is the thing that I'm talking about, is that against an unknown opponent, I probably wouldn't have taken that risk, is because it's not strictly speaking necessary. This was totally just an across-the-table read, and not a normal behavior for me necessarily.
Yeah. And there comes the medium.
So, announcing my intentions loud and clear, we're getting in there. But he's got 8 credits. Best he can do is a wall of threats. So instead he's going to Mushin Notion in something out and try to split my attention.
Makes sense. Either you go after the new thing, and if it's a trap, that's unfortunate, or you go after the R&D. And, well, theoretically avoid the old thing. He advances his, probably another Ronin, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Unless it's the slowest to score a future perfect in the history of humanity.
Or could be telegraphing a Ronin to try to bait a...
run on an overrider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going through the Baco, and no res. Medium trigger, Masanori trigger, Desperado trigger, so many triggers.
Yeah. And it's,
I believe, another Ronin.
Yep.
Yeah, which means I now really don't care about the thing. I'm almost positive that the thing behind the ice is a Cerebral Overrider, because he's only got 1 Ronin left.
Especially if you move.
So now I go back.
Back.
See nothing.
I do believe this might be where I interrupted a game to note to them some rather improbable happenings.
Future Perfect Side game.
Oh, Future Perfect Side game. That makes sense. I know at one point, either during this round or the next one, I noted that I had managed to, with the exact same play, make my opponent rather unhappy twice in a row.
So, I bid high there, bad read, but I also don't care much about my money, so I have so much. And I see the next card, which is false lead.
So you're doing pretty well there, given that you can keep going in if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, although it's getting late in the turn now, which makes it a little less appealing. Alright, see me lose an account siphon, which, I mean, would be a nice way to keep the pressure on, but is not the most essential piece for me at the moment.
No, I wouldn't even necessarily call it... Well, I mean, getting him broke is useful, but you have to spend the rest of your turn clearing tags, so it's a bit of investment.
Yeah.
And you go back, which I think is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, it pressures the future perfect.
He can't trigger more than one snare either, so it's not as if he can actually hope to do anything. And I believe, if I'm counting right, you're at 4 points. So if you score the future perfect, it's just over.
Alright. There's the side game. I think I'm at 3 points. Gila, House of Knives is false lead.
You scored 2 House of Knives, didn't you?
Oh,
yep.
Yeah. Alright, so that's game.
Aha! Better keeping track of the game state than I thought I was.
Alright, so thanks for watching, and we will see you... Yeah. This is the upside of having the off-color sleeves. Alright, so that's it for Game 1, and we will see you back here for Game 2, where I corp against Taylor's Noise. Thanks for watching.
Have a good one. Have a good one.